1.
First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler, taking a live look right there of downtown Portland. You can see what looks like, well, I guess those are the mountains in the background and maybe some rain heading over there. It's still a pretty great shot, though. I love pulling those things up. But thank you, everybody, for joining us here right now. As I said, this is Fox 12 Now. We are live streaming here every weekday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific. We're on Facebook, YouTube, our website, and our apps. Lots of places to find the show, watch it, and, of course, watch it afterwards and all the different discussions that we could have. Right now, though, we're talking about an anniversary, the 40th anniversary, as you can see on your screen, of the Oregon Tech Awards, which are taking place later today. And we're going to be joined to talk about that right now by Skip Newberry, who is the president and CEO of the Technology Association of Oregon. And Skip, thanks for being here with us. It's really exciting, 40 anniversary, 40 years of this going on for the Tech Awards. But to start off, everybody, to give a little bit of bigger context, can you talk about your role and the Technology Association of Oregon, and a little bit of context there?
Sure, certainly. So the Technology Association of Oregon has been around for about 12 years in its current form, and we've been the stewards of the Oregon Technology Awards during that time. Of course, that event predates TAO. There were other organizations extending all the way back to the early 80s that helped to curate and put on that event every year. So we're really pleased to be able to kind of bring it up to the 40-year milestone. Of course, the tech industry has changed a lot during that time. And TAO, our organization, has continued to evolve as well. We're a tech trade association that works with about 500 tech companies throughout the region, everything from early stage startups to some of the largest tech companies in the world and everything in between.
And that's over 500 organizations there, as you just mentioned, that you're working with. And I do think, for the awards themselves, the fact that you've been around for 12 years, the TAO has, and then even before that, though, there was always somebody kind of stewarding that to keep those awards going on.
Yep.
How does that speak to that entrepreneurship, I guess that entrepreneurial spirit of Oregon?
Yeah, I would say that there's been a lot of startup activity over the years. Back in the 70s, we had a lot of, in 60s for that matter, we had a lot of companies that were coming out of Tektronix, which was kind of the original company to kind of birth, if you will, the Silicon Forest. And then Intel's expansion brought a whole bunch more talent to the area. And since then, it's just been a variety of different companies over time, everything from hardware to software to mobile technologies. And now we're excited about what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of early stage activity. Now, I've been doing this about 14 years, not just at TAO, but with the city of Portland prior to. And coming out of the 2008 to 11 recession, we saw a lot of startups. We're starting to see that again. And so I think that bodes well for the region and for the state, as we're starting to see a lot of dynamism with early stage companies. That's reflected in part in the finalists for the Oregon Technology Awards this evening.
Well, and I want to go into those, especially, talk about some of those specific companies, but something you just mentioned brings up a question for me. So what is it about right now that's spurring so much growth for these startups and these entrepreneurs?
Yeah, there's a few different things. One is, I think, the evolution of the tech ecosystem here. We've matured quite a bit over the last 10 years. And so we have a lot of folks who've gotten some great experience with high growth companies over the last 10 years that have had success. And so they might have been directors or VPs or managers there, but they saw a business problem during that time. And if they had a little bit of liquidity event through some stock options, they might have some financial runway where in the last couple of years, they've said, hey, I'm going to go solve that problem. I'm going to do so by building a company. And now's the time to do it. And so coming out of the recession or out of the pandemic, I think there was a lot of time that folks had to think about what do they really want to do with their lives and what do they want to work on. And you also had companies and people with some resources to enable that to happen. So that's what we're seeing right now. I think also this has been a very entrepreneurial environment for many years, and that continues to be the case. So those things combined have led to a lot of the startup growth that we're seeing today.
I mean, that's definitely exciting for everybody here because even just going back to what you were talking about, some of those bigger companies, Tektronix and Intel, and just how much that influences things, and then that all comes out and affects everybody in a certain way. So, looking at these awards, tell us about this. Like, how do you go about curating or determining who's going to get an award? You know, give us the basic definition here of how this works.
Sure. So the awards have a very formal structure to it. We have a lot of volunteers that serve on different committees for each of the different award categories. And each of the award categories is organized according to company financial performance and community impact. But the first sort of look is at company financial performance, and then from there, it's what kind of impact on the community. And it's interesting because we have everything from pre-revenue, early stage startups, on up to companies doing well over 100 million in revenue annually. In some cases, it's in the billions. And so we also have a category that I'm pretty excited about called Most Disruptive. And that is to recognize a company with a particularly innovative and disruptive technology and business model that's kind of early on in a market that's emerging.
When you talk about disruptive, I have to ask, just because that does seem to be the trend of things, are we talking about involving artificial intelligence or some kind of machine learning?
Yeah, so there are a number of companies that are applying everything from machine learning and AI or artificial intelligence to their solutions that are finalists for this year. And in the past, of course, it's been a variety of other types of emerging technologies. This year, we have both AI and robotics well represented in the finalists for Most Disruptive.
Nice. That's really exciting to see what's going to be happening there. And but with this broad range of companies, so as you mentioned, you know, from people who are maybe at the very beginnings to over 100 million or maybe $1 billion, you know, that's a huge wide net right there. So when you talk about all of the awards, how many companies estimated would you say are nominated for an award during this?
Yeah, so we have typically anywhere from 70 to 90 companies that apply on average in recent years, and then we have three finalists, typically 2 to 3 selected from each of the different categories. In terms of types of categories or number of categories, we have roughly, I'd say probably 9 or 10. Sorry, hang on, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'd say about 8 categories in all. So it's been an evolution over time as we've started to look at what's the right mix in terms of revenue band for each of the categories. But as you can see, with 70 to 90 companies applying every year and only a small number of finalists, it's pretty competitive.
Could you give us some examples of some past winners of some of the Oregon Tech Awards?
Yeah, for sure. So in the past, we've had companies like Intel that's been involved in Mentor Graphics. There's also folks like, if I look back to some of the past ones, we've had, let's see, Elemental Technologies, which was acquired by Amazon. So that was one of the bigger exits in the area. Enlight, which is a company that has a presence both in Oregon as well as Washington. They do lasers. Obviously Tektronix, which we talked about earlier in the segment. So there's definitely a number of companies across a variety of different types of technology types. In Focus Technology as well, if you'll recall that company doing display technology back in the day. So yeah, wide range.
Wide range of companies that can come out of this, and all again, you know, here locally or in Oregon, and building that and building part of the economy here, in addition to wherever else they end up going or wherever else they're working, which is all over the place. Pretty exciting stuff. So for this year, what are you most excited for here for the 40th anniversary of the Oregon Tech Awards?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm seeing is a broad sort of cross representation of different types of technologies in the form of the companies that are up. And there's a whole wide variety of both manufacturing, software, and also companies that are doing some really cool stuff from around the state, right? So the Oregon Technology Awards is not just companies that are based in Portland proper, but of course, all over Oregon. And so those are some of the things that I'm excited about. I also think that, again, as a tech sector, we're kind of on the verge of another 10-year growth period. And so being at the beginning of something like that is always kind of a fun place to be. And we've got some great companies, I think, that are going to take us forward as a community looking into the next 10 years.
Looking to the general community, just general population, I guess, in Oregon, we'll talk about specifically since it's the Oregon Tech Awards. For the general public out there, what do you think is the thing that they should be most excited about when it comes to looking at both the companies that are here as part of the Tech Awards, but also this growth that you were discussing as far as all these new companies?
Yeah, I would say a few different things. Number one, we've got technology is only really as interesting as its application. And what we're seeing in recent years is that there are some great technology companies here. They're trying to solve some really big societal problems. We're seeing a lot more in climate tech, as well as in health technology, and then cybersecurity and compliance. And so if I think about all the emerging technologies that you refer to, like AI and machine learning, there's kind of a flip side to that. As technology proliferates, you also have the cybersecurity risk growing with it. So we need to have both sides of that equation. And what's great is we've got a ton of companies here doing cybersecurity and compliance tech, as much as we also have companies that are creating the new cutting edge technologies as well, like robotics and AI.
I would love it. I mean, and that provides opportunities for so many more people too, I would imagine, to be involved.
It does, for sure. And yeah, there's no better time to get into tech from an employment or workforce standpoint. We've had some reductions in force across companies, major tech companies, over the past 18 months. But there's a big shift going on, and there's a lot of growth in certain categories like data science and analysts, cybersecurity. We have over 7,000 open cybersecurity positions in Oregon right now. And then, of course, anything related to AI.
So still, as even with those reductions, opportunities are out there. So that's great to know. And I think that's really interesting that you said too that we're maybe at the start of a 10-year build and growth period for tech. So that's definitely something to look forward to.
For sure. And what's cool is what's old is new again, right? I mean, so like we talked about the semiconductor industry and its importance to the tech sector early on. Well, now it's hot again, right? And so that bodes well for Oregon.
Well, Skip, thank you very much for joining us here to talk about this. And for everybody out there who wants to know more about the awards and maybe find out, who the winners are and find out who's competing in it, can you let us know how to do that?
Sounds great. Yeah, so definitely stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of press coming out after tonight once the award winners are announced. And for folks who are looking to apply for next year, because this is an annual event, we typically have openings starting in the late fall, early winter. And we'll have an announcement around that where companies can be nominated or apply. And yeah, exciting times for TAO and for the local tech community.
Fantastic. Well, Skip, thank you so much for joining us here today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, and for everybody watching, again, this is Fox 12 Now, so we're live here every weekday, and we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back at 1:30 p.m., again, if you are watching live, and we'll be discussing something from OHSU, so Oregon Health Sciences University just released the results of a study that they've been conducting regarding gene editing, and it boils down to they were able to partially restore vision to some of the participants in this study. We've got one of those participants joining us at 1:30 to talk about her experience being able to see more than she used to because of this study. Really exciting stuff. So that's going to be at 1:30 p.m. And if you'd like to watch any of our segments, of course, download the app, the Fox 12 Oregon app. That's got the Fox 12 Now tab right there. You can watch everything we just discussed, including talking about the 40th anniversary of the Oregon Tech Awards and everything else right there. But wherever you are, thanks for finding us.